Welcome to Gone to Texas, the official podcast of the Texas Economic Development Connection. On every episode, we share the stories of business owners and CEOs who have relocated or expanded their business into Texas. Our goal is to use these stories as a guide to help others who are ready to hang a sign on the door that says, Gone to Texas. And now, please welcome your host, the Managing Partner and Chief Inspiration Officer for Day One Experts, Super Dave Quinn.
Gone to Texas, a podcast powered by Day One Experts. I'm your host, Super Dave Quinn, and today we have a very special guest who's making significant waves in the railroad industry. Mr. Joey Evans, the Director of Business Support and Development at TNW Corporation, a privately held operator of short-line railroads and logistics centers in Texas, operating 3 short-line railroads with 4 transload facilities and the largest private railcar storage facility in the United States. Joey's here with us, bringing nearly 20 years of experience and knowledge in the rail industry to our listeners. Joey's responsible for building corporate relationships that support customers, communities, and economic development initiatives. He also provides internal support through customer data analysis and technology integration. So before we dive into our conversation, I want to take a quick second and thank our sponsors for this episode. The Gonzales Economic Development Corporation is located in the Alamo region of Texas, and their support helps us have significant, insightful conversations like the one we're having here today with Joey. So now let's dive into the show. Joey, welcome to the show.
All right, thank you, Dave. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to it.
All right, man. Well, so give our listeners, I just read a quick bio, but really, who is Joey Evans? What is it you're doing here, and what is your role in the logistics industry here and rail industry here in Texas?
Yeah, so thank you, Dave. Joey Evans. I've been in the industry for 20 years. I started on the East Coast as a conductor in the rail industry 20 years ago. I worked my way through being a train engineer and then got into management. Moved to Washington, D.C. in about 2006, I think it was. And then kind of moved around. And then 2015, I landed in the great state of Texas. I wasn't born here. I got here as fast as I can. And my family and I have called Frisco home now for the last several years and really enjoying what we do here from a company perspective, and just happy to be here.
Well, Joey, it's awesome to have you. It's kind of funny. We end up realizing we're both in Frisco, so we could have done this in person. That would be kind of fun. But hey, so tell me a little bit about the industry as a whole, logistically, or the logistics industry as a whole seems to be pretty fascinating right now, right? It's changing rapidly, and there's lots of pressures in all different ways. What are some of the things that you're seeing from a business owner's perspective that they're having to deal with when they're engaging you in the rail to move their products around?
So when I look at kind of our industry as a whole and how it has changed in the last 5 or 10 years, I think technology has made a significant impact on the way business owners are looking at areas to move to. And when I say that, 5 years ago, when I would get calls about prospects wanting to move to Texas, it was, hey, I need you to go out, I need you to take still photos and send me all the information that you have. And in today's world, it's really changed to where, through drone footage and through different pieces of technology that we have available to us, it makes it a lot easier to interact from long distances with people. I think a lot of the people that I hear from are either based 1,000 miles away, completely different states that don't have the ability to necessarily make a flight to Gonzales or Dumas or some of the other areas that we serve. But we can have that face-to-face interaction through technology to show them what we have available. And I believe that we've gotten to the point now with that technology that it's made for shorter closing times. And so, from that is one thing that has made kind of a change in the last 5 years that I've seen as far as logistics goes.
Do you think speaking of closing times, one of the things that I've been talking a lot about with my partners is just how fast business owners, especially small business owners, right? They're not big corporate Fortune 500 with, teams of people and big war chest. These are small to medium sized business owners who are having to take on significant risks to expand or relocate, and they need it done in a hurry. They can't let this be like a 3-year process or a 2-year process or whatever. I mean, they're looking to move as quickly as possible. Are you seeing that with what you're talking about?
100%. I think some of the growth that, we're seeing in Gonzales, you know, when you get a call from someone indicating that they may potentially want to relocate their business to Texas, when you ask them what their objectives are, it's not the typical, oh, well, we're looking at 2027. It's we want to open up our business at the beginning of 2025. And,
Right.
and that can obviously, for a small company like TNW, we're 89 people, 89 to 100 people at any given time. So we're a small company, but we're very agile, and we have to be because that's what's expected from us from these small business owners. They're coming to us and saying, all right, we want to get a contract in place. We want to go through that process, and it's 6 months. And so yes, we are definitely seeing that, and it's a lot of pressure, on both sides. So we have to constantly adjust. We have to make sure that we're meeting their needs at all times.
All right. So, how many of your customers, I mean, are they typically on rail, or do you talk to a lot of folks who are now recognizing like one of the reasons they're moving is they need to move on to rail? Is that something you're seeing?
Yeah, I think it goes both ways. So I think a lot of the companies that I'm trying to that engage me are typically users that have limited access to rail and are generally used to shipping cars on the bigger railroads right there. So you've got a couple different um, a couple different size railroads. You've got your class one railroads, which most people are familiar with when you say rail, which is BNSF, Union Pacific, KCS. Then you've got your short line railroads like us that are operating at a much smaller level, uh, but again, it can be more agile. When you look at TNW Corporation as a whole, we're owned by Murchison Capital. That name means a lot in the state of Texas, which helps us. The Murchisons, their father, Robert and both are our current owners. Their father, Quint Murchison, started the Dallas Cowboys many years ago, right? So we're Dallas born and bred. Uh, our property, we've got a short line railroad, which you mentioned, which is the largest privately owned storage facility in North America, which is in Dumas, Texas. We have one that's located in Brownwood, Texas, which is called TXR Railway. And we have TXGN Railway in Gonzales, Texas. And then we're also the switching provider at the Port of Victoria, which is a newer thing for us over the last couple of years, but it's been a great partnership so far.
So one of the things that I don't think folks understand, if you're not familiar with the industry, right? If you've never engaged the railroad, you might not really understand what are some of the differences. If I'm used to getting service on the BNSF or one of the others, what's some of the differences they can expect if you're engaging in a short line? Why is that? What's the opportunity there for short line
Right.
operations?
I think service is probably the biggest. And our class one partners do a great job, but I think we're able to give a more personalized service to those people. We're meeting with generally the business owners or the people that run their logistics side on a daily basis. From picking up the phone every morning to calling a company like a Tyson or Purina that's located in Gonzales, to also just getting in the truck and driving over and meeting with the business owner and saying, hey, what are you looking for? How can we help you grow? What are some of the challenges that you see today? And it also, our service is everything to us. When you look at the metrics that we provide, and I'll talk a little bit about, how that's changed over the last few years, you know, we we almost guarantee service, on a daily basis. So for instance, if a customer is wanting to get a car to their facility, they're guaranteed that they're going to get it that day.
Oh, wow.
If they want a car to leave one of our facilities and they do it by our cutoff times, it's guaranteed it's going to make it out that day. So we reduce those transit times, and where the Class One railroads they necessarily don't have that flexibility just because they're running such a large scale operation.
Sure.
So we're able to provide that white glove service at all times, and that's something that's really changed in the last 5 years as well. We used to get calls from customers years ago that would ask, well, I want to know where my rail car is located, and through technology, which I spoke about, now it's almost the Amazon effect,
Right.
right? They can see through technology that we created in house, which is called My TNW. They can see where their rail cars are located in real time. They can know and expect that once they place an order for a car to come to their facility or leave, they can follow that path of it making it all the way to our Class One partners and leaving. So it's really, technology has changed the phone calls that we get. Now, generally, when we're getting a phone call or talking to those customers, like I mentioned, it's a more personalized, hey, what are you looking to do in the next week and 2 weeks, and how can we help your business grow? Because that's the main thing for us is how do we help the customers and the communities grow in a way that they haven't seen before.
So I think that's really important. One of the things that we promote and the reason that we exist is a lot of business owners don't realize that there's someone at the local level that they can connect with that generally wants to help them solve problems and grow their business. They're not used to that, especially when they're coming from other states, right? They don't believe that exists for free and that there's a dedicated office that says, what challenges you have. Now, not that they can fix all of them, but they are working in hand with you to talk about that. Talk a little bit about your relationship with the economic development world and sort of managing and helping those business owners grow.
It has been such a remarkable partnership that we have with our economic development partners, and specifically in Gonzales. Susan Sankey, who leads the economic development there, has been a breath of fresh air for us. We have weekly calls, depending on what the need is. But they have been such wonderful partners for us to help, our potential opportunities and customers with incentives, with grant opportunities that they can look for, and it is so much more than just someone reaching out to say, hey, I need you to help me with this. Every aspect of a business growing in any kind of way, I immediately get on the phone with them and they immediately get on the phone with me and say, hey, this is an opportunity that we've heard about. Here's some land for sale that you could potentially go look at. And so it is truly this remarkable partnership, unlike anything that I've ever seen in my 20 years.
Yeah, I think that's people. It's so funny. They're so caught off guard. And I think really they don't believe me at first, right? That first call, they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But generally, after they've had a few conversations with our economic development partners, they'll come back and say, man, you weren't lying. These people really they really want us to help. I mean, they really want to help us. And so that's fun to see. What are some of the like when you're talking about a customer, and I'm on a short line, it's not that you have a rail infrastructure you're actually that sort of in between moving them onto the class line, and really they can operate globally from your location, right? If I understand that right?
That's 100% accurate. A lot of the products that you see for us, we get a lot of, we'll talk about the Gonzales area. There's a lot of grain that comes in, and that grain that's coming in, whether it's corn or whether it's other products, whether it's petrochemicals, they're coming from all over the country. And a lot of people don't realize the amount of finished goods that you use on a daily basis that are moving on a Class 1 and short lines.
Right.
Short lines are really, the mantra behind a short line is first mile, last mile.
Right.
And that's really true, from tollets being created or built, from Kohler, moving out by rail car, or those products that come in to build those products. So everything typically moves in some instance on a short line.
Gonzales, deep in the heart of Texas. It's a place you want to be, whether it's to learn about our history and the birthplace of Texas freedom, our hospitality, our wonderful events, or maybe you want to come and open a business because of the legendary work ethic. Gonzales is the place to be. Located minutes off I-10 and just 1 hour from two of Texas's biggest cities, Austin and San Antonio, we're also located just 2 hours from Houston. Gonzales has a quaint small-town charm with most of the amenities of big city life, including nightlife downtown, a beautiful public library, and shops to outfit the entire family. We have the perfect location for you to come and visit, or to come and live. Deep in the heart of Texas, we are Gonzales, Texas. So, and if you're a business owner and I'm looking to engage with a short line, am I looking at the site first? Am I looking, like, what is the process if I've got something that I think if I'm shipped by rail, it's probably going to help me, lower my expenses or help me increase profit? What's that process? Do they reach out to you? Who are they going through to sort of explore that?
Well, hopefully we've done our work on our side, and we're reaching out to them, being proactive ahead of time and trying to read people's minds. It doesn't always work that way. I think a good place to always start is the Economic Development Corporation that's in a town. They generally have great relationships with their short line partners, and they're in contact with us, as I mentioned, like Gonzales and Dumas and Brownwood, and saying, hey, here's somebody that's just called, and what can you tell them about our area and what you have. And generally from that time, it's a 30 minutes or less that I'm on the phone trying to talk to that person and send them information not only about our corporation and what we do, but also the community. And I go back to being partners in those communities. There's so many things that we do, in partnership with the city, from sponsoring local Little League teams to Main Street events. And in Gonzales last year, we kicked off our first Bring Santa Claus to Town at Christmas. Right, so where we light up the locomotives, we bring Santa in and have hot chocolate. All of those things are so important, and I think that is a story in itself about how short lines operate for these customers. And once they make that initial call to the economic development, here comes my my whole elevator pitch about everything that we can provide.
So I think that just underlines and underscores the message we're trying to send, is that you have a professional person in a community whose job it is maybe not to give you incentive. Everybody thinks economic developers just write checks and gives you incentives, and that's their only role, right? Answer the phone and write checks. No. I mean, I wish it was simple like that. But really, that person, like, they know that community, right? So they know if you need a guy that they need rail service, or you need somebody at the utility, or you need transportation, maybe highway at the text dot, or they are the person that is responsible for building those relationships that you can leverage, right? You don't have time, especially, we're talking to business owners who often haven't ever been to Texas. You mentioned that, right? Like, they're 1,000 miles away. All they've seen of Texas is the news. Maybe they follow the Cowboys or something like that. But they know nothing about Texas, and they're trying to figure out if they can come into Dumas and see Gonzales in the same day. I'm like, well, you could do that, but it won't be during the daylight hours, right? Like, you can't do that. And so they just have no concept of the state. So that's why we push the connection with the economic developer, is to know folks like you that says, oh, you're looking for rail, you need to move products. Sounds like you need to talk to Joey. And they pass you off, and that shortens that time frame of information gathering, right? So it's so important to a business owner because, again, they don't have big corporate real estate staff. They don't have teams of people doing this for them. They're trying to do their normal job during the day, run the company, and at the same time, oh, by the way, try to solve this problem and challenge. And so the quicker we can get them information, the better, right?
Yeah, and we rely on those economic development experts so much because, as I mentioned, we're a very small company, so most of us wear many different hats. And so while we trying to spend as much time as possible researching what businesses are moving into the surrounding area.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible at times for us to know everything. Those economic development people are on the ground at all times. They're hearing what is moving in the surrounding areas, whether it be chip plants or automotive or metal. So, they may just be bringing back an idea to me and saying, hey, I hear that there's a cement company moving into New Braunfels. And that may just spark something in me to then start researching the cement industry. Well, how do I bring the cement industry to Gonzales?
Right.
And so again, they are the experts in their region. I spend a lot of time there. I don't live there. They are so instrumental in us being able to help grow their community.
Yeah. Well, Joey, thank you so much, man. I think this has been pretty valuable to understand, short lines and the roles of connecting with economic developer and really working in partnership with you. Is there anything from your standpoint that business owners need to be asking? Like, maybe what are the top 3 questions they need to ask themselves to say, hey, is Rail good for my business? Do you have something like that a business owner can kind of quickly walk through and say, yeah, it's worth making the phone call?
That's a great question. I think I think that the top 3 things that I would think about if I was a business owner and looking to move stuff by rail, specifically short line rail, is what's the level of service that you'd like to get? Number one. Number two, do you want a partner instead of someone that's going to treat you just like a vendor, right? So do you want that personalized service at all times as somebody that's gonna constantly be thinking about how to help grow your business? And I think also too, do you want somebody that's gonna help inside the community outside of your day-to-day operations? As far as, yes, we're happy to move any rail car you have and unload rail cars and all of those things, but we also want to be partners with you in the community. We want to help sponsor your little league team. We want to do those kind of things that will make you proud and make the community proud and help grow your family.
Nice. So, and from a business case standpoint, is there a certain size or amount of something that I need to move, or like at what point does it make sense to say, hey, rail's a good sort of option for me?
That is probably one of the best questions you can ask, and here's why I say that. You mentioned the railroads that we have, but also the logistics centers. We've kind of taken the stance because we do know that there are a lot of people outside of Texas that may not have the capital to come in and build a brick and mortar facility, but they want to be able to serve that market. So through our logistics companies that we have of transloading product, it will allow someone, whether anywhere within the United States or Mexico, to send a car to one of our locations. It can be one car, it can be 10,000 cars. And we will then take that, we'll unload it for you. And then the only responsibility you have is trying to find a truck to haul it to wherever you want to go. So we took that stance in 2017. We started looking at how can we grow our railroad way larger than it is, because we realize as a short line railroad that we only have so much track that we can operate on. But there's such a big market for people that want to ship one car into a market. Maybe they need one every 6 months. We can handle that for you. So it doesn't matter the size. We'll handle it for you. To move it there, start here.
Okay. I love it, man. That's, as a small business owner myself, it is sometimes you're like, how do I afford the infrastructure that some of the larger competitors or larger businesses that you compete with? How do you do that if you don't have the money for the setup? And it sounds like you found a way to provide that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, so Joey, it's been a great conversation. How do they find you? What's the best way for people to connect with you?
So best way to connect with us is through www.tnwcorporation.com. Again, that's www.tnwcorporation.com. You'll see a link on there to contact us, and you can send me a message, and I'm happy to reach out to you and help move your business to Texas.
All right, man. I love it. We appreciate you spending some time with us today. And again, we'll drop the show link. We'll put that link down in the show notes so our listeners can find it. We want to say thank you again to Gonzales for sponsoring this episode and giving us the opportunity to have this conversation with you. And listen, folks, thanks for listening to another episode here of Gone to Texas. As always, we ask you, please like, share, subscribe our show. We know that business owners across the U.S. are feeling frustrated with their economic circumstances, and they're looking to the Lone Star State for opportunities, and we help those business owners find the right place here in Texas to expand or relocate their business. And when this happens, we know their business grows and Texas benefits. So if you want our help, please visit www.texasedconnection.com today, and we'll set up a call and learn how we can help you move to Texas. I'm your host, Super Dave Quinn, saying bye for now, and until next time, make it a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Gone to Texas, the official podcast of the Texas Economic Development Connection, powered by Day One Experts, a collection of the country's best-known economic development professionals offering on-demand services to communities across the nation.